Hello. So I wanted to hop on, do a little live riff to deepen the conversation on being interdependent in your relationship, aka being a team player. So if you saw my last post, I talked about how in your relationship, ideally, you're not being completely independent and you're not being completely dependent. You're being interdependent as a couple, right? A lot of independent women claim they struggle finding a partner in their masculine energy, a provider, because of their independence. And the goal isn't to become dependent because when you're high achieving, high value woman, there's always going to be a side of us that, wants to be taken care of and cherished. But at the same time, we want to have our own power, our own strength in the relationship. But obviously, extremes are never ideal, I would say, in life, right? There's always a balance. You always want to have, some sort of leveling off, all right? And like meeting in the middle somewhere, right? This polarity, the just magnetism, the opposites that attract, right? So you kind of want to bring that together, and it's going to make more sense, hopefully, when I share this example. But I wanted to talk more about that, and something came up recently, a couple things came up recently to illustrate this idea of, being a team player, I like to call it, or technically being interdependent, right? So let me share a story with you guys. If you were following my stories, you'll see that this weekend, and a few days before and after the weekend, my husband and I were on a mountain biking trip. So we went to mountain bike, we went to see a mountain bike competition, and we were going with a group of friends, but we had rented our own tiny house, tiny home in the mountains between some of these mountain biking destinations where we were going, and it was all exciting. I'm like an introvert, so I kind of like the idea of going somewhere with people, but then at the end of the day, we had our own little place to come back to. Are there any other introverts here? Let me know in the comments if I'm alone or not alone, right? Introverts of the world, where are you? So anyways, we booked this tiny home a while ago. And we were planning, the trip with the group of people that we mountain bike with and everything. And at some point we were looking at the reservation, and people were talking, hey, where are you staying? And where are you staying? And my husband noticed that in our tiny home, we had like what they promoted as a spare bedroom. So there was supposed to be another room with a bunk bed. So at one point, my husband sent out a message to the group and said, hey, it looks like we have an extra room if anyone needs, a place to stay or whatnot. And when that happened, I was kind of like, originally when we talked about it, we had talked about having our own place and everything, but whatever, we're going out with people we like out there and stuff. So it's all good. And eventually someone responded and took us up on the offer, and all good. Someone we bike with a lot and everything. Thing is, we get to this tiny house that we had rented, and the place was tiny, as advertised, I guess, right? A tiny house. And we look at the spare room, and it was literally a closet that they had shoved 2 bunk beds in. And we're like, oh my gosh, like this person cannot stay there. It was just like adjacent to our sleeping area, and the wall didn't even go all the way up to the ceiling, and it was right next to the bathroom that also did not have a wall to the ceiling. And I'm saying wall, but it wasn't wall, it was like a couple slabs of wood with like a barn door style thing that didn't even shut properly for the bathroom. And the person staying in that extra room had to walk through where we were sleeping to get to the bathroom, which didn't have a full wall or a proper door. Anyways, so of course, I'm kicking myself a little bit to not have said anything earlier before my husband sent out the email. And then obviously I'm thinking, why did he send the email without having this conversation and together and whatnot, right? All the things went through my head. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. And I believe this happened for a reason. And I will explain to you why, because it did help us become more of a team in terms of communication. So what happened is, so the trip starts, we get there, like I said, we see this tiny little room, the person staying with us arrives, they're like, you know what, no problem, I'll stay there, no worries. And we're like, okay, it's gonna be a cozy few days. Well, everything was working out fine and everything. And then my husband and I decided, it'd be nice to have like one day in this tiny micro home to ourselves, right? So we were kind of like figuring out, how do we communicate this? Who do we, who communicates this? And, when it comes to communicating sometimes hard news to someone, some of us can be more timid about that, more shy about that. And it didn't seem like either one of us wanted to be the one to communicate that, right? And obviously I talk a lot about feminine energy, masculine energy. I work with a lot of women who want their man to step up. And you know what? Like sometimes I want that too, right? So in this particular situation, when it came to the moment to communicate this to the other person, my husband starts a conversation and whatnot, and then I could hear him. Obviously it's this tiny home, so I can hear every single word, and then I could hear that he wasn't going, he wasn't gonna go and directly ask or say what we had talked like about behind the scenes, right? So I'm there and I'm like, and the first thing I hear, like the first thing I think is like, why isn't he not just stepping up and saying something? Why is he not manning up? And I share this all the time, right? Just because I'm a relationship coach doesn't mean like I never have those thoughts that go through my head, right? Just because I'm a relationship coach doesn't mean every step I take is perfect, right? Maybe you're listening to this and you're like, oh, well, she's a relationship coach. Her husband never should have, even emailed her without consulting her on something, right? Like, we are not perfect. I will never say that we are. I love to say that we have the tools, right, to get through things. And I have the tools and I stay in my power. And like I said earlier on in this live, I always believe that something like these things happen for a reason. So I'm up there and I have these thoughts go through my head and I catch myself, which is what I coach women to do in my programs, in my one-on-one. The first step is always catching your thoughts, right? Working on your self-awareness, taking a deep breath before you react, asking yourself productive questions. So instead of, why couldn't he just say something? Why couldn't he just man up and step up and just say it and be direct or whatnot? I changed the direction of my thoughts, right? I ask myself a better, more productive question. And in this case, I ask myself, how can I be a team player? How can I be on the same team here? Right? He opened, and then I realized he opened the doorway to have the conversation. So when I finally changed my thoughts to productive thoughts and productive questions, I went out there and I continued the conversation that my husband had started. And I asked, if we could have the evening, right? That night to ourselves in the tiny home. And then my husband jumped back in and we had a really good conversation with the person, and like the person totally understood and it made total sense, right? We're in this tiny home. We had rented it as a couple. We opened the invitation, but we just wanted to have one night, together. So it totally turned out well. After that conversation, we were super proud of ourselves. I was super happy with it. And the lesson here and what I take out of it and what I want to share with you guys today is the whole idea of being a team player. So like I said, when that happened, I changed my thoughts and I looked, I redirected all these thoughts about why didn't he do something, right? Him versus me, or who, dividing roles or having expectations. And I looked to see how we could be a team in this situation. So yeah, maybe for me it would have been perfect if he just would have said anything and I didn't have to do anything, right? But you know what? We're a couple. We chose to be on a team together and play this game of life together. And at the end of the day, what's wrong with doing things together? What's wrong with helping each other out, right? What's wrong with being on each other's side? Isn't that what a relationship is about? Isn't that what you want to do as a couple? Conquer the world together, not just one person doing everything, the other person not having to do anything, right? What's wrong at the end of the day, right? How can you do more of that in your relationship? That's how you grow stronger together, right? You have each other's back. So my husband started doing something, and then look, the direction, the conversation wasn't totally going in the direction. So I had his back, right? And then I jumped in and then he had my back and we had each other's back. So I just wanted to share that example because a lot of women come to me, like I said, and they wish their man did this or he could proactively think of this or can read their mind when it comes to a particular situation. Well, what if you saw it as you guys are a team? And he doesn't always have to only think of everything himself or only do everything himself, right? How could you jump in and help the play, right? If you think of it as sports or a game, right? Like, imagine you're a team of some sort. You're not just going to say, oh, well, your teammate, okay, it's his turn to score and just let him score. No, you're going to throw your teammate the ball, okay, whatever sport it is, right? Like, I'm obsessed with gymnastics, so I was just thinking of it from that perspective. But like when the gymnastics team is going for like the overall team title, right? Simone Biles doesn't just like, okay, well, I did a good floor routine, I'm just going to fall off the beam now. Like, no, she's still like, you're thinking of the team, you're still doing stuff, right? It's not like I did my part and now you do your part. I took out the trash last week, so now you should do this. How can you be more of a team interdependent? Okay, not so you're independent or you're dependent or one of the two, right? How do you get back and level the playing field and play the game together? What can you do in that situation? And another good example of that too, I wanted to share, and this is something, an example a lady was sharing in a group, I believe, that I'm in, and she was talking about how her husband would get angry sometimes, and sometimes there was situations with other people, he would get angry about something they did, and then she was saying, well, I kind of see like why the other people are upset. And when I tell my husband that, he gets upset. And I was reading that and I thought it was, again, a perfect example of whose team are you on, right? Right? Whose team is it going to feel like you're on if you're siding with the other person's opinion, even if the other person is right? Again, what's more important to you? Is it more important to you to be in a fulfilling, healthy relationship, or is it more important to be right? Right? Is it more important to work together on your communication, or is it more important for him to say the right thing to you? Okay, like it's completely interrelated, interdependent, right? And what's more important to you? Are you going to be a team player, or what's more important? All right. So I just wanted to share that nugget with you guys. I hope it was valuable, and just think again about it, right? Like sometimes, yeah, you might have to remind your partner to do stuff, but you're a team, right? And vice versa. And sometimes people will say, okay, well, let's say, for example, well, I shouldn't have to do everything. Well, what if you asked? What if you were a team and didn't always expect one certain thing? How can you kind of insert yourself and kind of pass the ball to your partner to help them out? And trust me, all right, the more you do this, the more you will notice your partner is passing the ball back to you. And it's going to go both ways, right? The more you model being a team player, the more it's going to come back, all right? There's nothing wrong with having to remind someone of something. Sure, it might be annoying, but hey, you guys are a team, okay? Help each other out. Help each other out. So I just wanted to share with that story with you guys today. I just thought it was a powerful story. It was a powerful story for us, and it was really helpful. And I hope it gets you thinking too in terms of your perspective. How are you looking at certain situations with your partner? How can you see them more as being a team? How can you help each other out and make yourselves stronger, like your relationship even stronger and the bond stronger between the two of you? Because that is what's going to keep the relationship super spicy and juicy. That's what's going to keep him feeling that strong attraction towards you, because he will feel like you have his back and you are there for him, and you are looking to understand, and you are looking to also be part of everything, and you're not just like expecting everything of him, and vice versa, right? So really think about, I challenge you this week, right? Find ways that you can play together as a team in this game of life, right? And see what that does. See what that does in your relationship. All right. Speaking of biking, we are going back biking this evening as a couple. So I will hop off now. If you have any questions, if you want to get any type of guidance, just jump in my DMs. I do have a one-on-one private coaching spot opening October 15th. If you want to claim that spot, or there's also my group program Aphrodite that is opening up later this month. And we're talking all about the energy of being a goddess in your relationship and being totally magnetic and reigniting that flame and keeping it alive, keeping that honeymoon phase that better than honeymoon phase alive in your relationship for the long term. So feel free to reach out, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.